A teenage girl
Where do you think you're going?
mysteriously vanishes.
I know that mother knows where she's at.
It was like she just disappeared.
The people closest to her think they know what happened,
You killed that girl.
as a small town is turned upside down.
It was a flurry of madness.
The investigation leads to a suspect who fools everyone.
I was just in utter shock.
It's a warm summer afternoon in Niles, Michigan, a small town of close-knit neighbors. Jackie Kaiser returns home expecting to find her best friend, 15-year-old Becky Stowe. Becky had slept over at Jackie's house, as she often did. Instead of the sound of Becky chatting on the phone, the radio is blaring, the curling iron is hot, and there's fresh steam on the bathroom mirror. But the house is empty, and Becky is gone.
I walked in the house, the door was opened. The washer and dryer were going. I walked in the living room, the TV was going, and I just went back to my bedroom, and I thought that Becky would be there.
Becky?
And she wasn't, and so I went to the bathroom, and Becky wasn't in there. I was a little confused.
What could have made Becky leave in such a hurry, just moments before Jackie arrived? Jackie continues to search the house. She doesn't find Becky, but she does find a note. It reads, "Went to talk to Rob." Rob is Robert Lehman, a 16-year-old high school star football hero, and the new boy in Becky's life. Jackie assumes Becky will be back after she meets Rob, until a few hours later,
Hello?
It was Robert asking for Rebecca. I was baffled because there was a note saying Rebecca was with him, Robert. And then that's when things just kind of fell apart.
if
Does this look like her handwriting?
Rob says that he and Becky had no plans to get together on the day she went missing.
He didn't appear nervous. A lot of times people are nervous when they talk to the state police. I'm in a full state police uniform. I'm at his house. He was just cool, calm, and collected.
Grennan questions Rob at length about where he was the day Becky disappeared. He says he was working at a landscaping company in the morning, hanging with his cousin that afternoon, went home, took a shower, and went to his second job that night, all of which could be confirmed by eyewitnesses. So if Becky never made it to Rob's house, what happened to the vivacious 15-year-old girl? Prior to her disappearance, Becky seemed like the typical 15-year-old high school sophomore.
She was always laughing, making jokes, having fun, talking on the phone a lot, like teenagers do.
Becky spent most of her time with her best friend, Jackie.
I was asking you.
We made a video of ourselves, just us girls doing whatever we felt at the time. It was just free of the moment. Get the camera, turn this on, watch us.
Wow.
Becky was extremely bubbly and funny and smart, outgoing. She was the life of the party.
This is the happy face. Wow. The hairs.
Becky's an ordinary teenage girl in another way, too. She has a complicated relationship with her mother.
You're not going. You're not allowed to.
Becky and her mom, Diane, were extremely close. They had an open and honest relationship, despite the typical teenage arguments that every mother and daughter have.
But Becky's mom has a live-in boyfriend, Lenny, and he and Becky don't always get along.
We are done.
Detectives interview all of Becky's friends, trying to determine if she dropped any hint of problems at home or a motive for running away.
It was like she just disappeared. There was nothing there. You know, what happened? Did she leave on her own volition, or did someone force her?
A call goes to the South Carolina police to locate and question Todd in the case.
They pulled him over on the highway and did a search.
There's no sign of Becky, and Todd denies knowing where she is. Back in Michigan, even Jackie is suspicious of her boyfriend, desperate for answers. She calls Todd and demands to know the truth.
Jacqueline at one point had asked me if Becky was with me, and she said that she wouldn't tell anyone. She just really needed to know that she was all right.
Todd returns home a few days later, but the cloud of suspicion surrounding him hasn't lifted.
At one point, Becky's mother came to my house and asked if she could look in my basement and look in the trunk of my car. I let her do it. I know how I was feeling at that point, and I could only imagine what her mother was feeling. I allowed her to look everywhere that she wanted to look.
There is zero evidence linking Todd to Becky's disappearance. It's now 9 days since Becky went missing. Law enforcement mounts a massive ground and air search covering more than 10 square miles of heavily wooded rural area and difficult terrain.
We had a state police helicopter in the air. We had search parties. We had posters up. We had family passing out posters. We were sending them to the media. We were doing everything to try to find her.
Working in coordination with police, Becky's family and friends organized their own task force as well, trying to throw as many resources as possible into the search.
Diane was looking frantically. Any rumor that we heard, we went and followed through. I was very frantic. It was a bad time.
As word of Becky's disappearance spreads, plenty of people claim they've seen her.
This is Trooper Grennan.
And they were getting all kinds of tips that she was in the Walmart, that somebody had seen her face in a window in a house, that some girl had beaten her up in a restaurant.
It always seemed like somebody would come up and say, you know, I saw Becky the other day in this city, or Becky was doing this. That was terrible. It was a flurry of madness.
Police follow up every lead, but Becky is nowhere to be found.
What you had was a note on a piece of paper and a 15-year-old that's gone. And so we literally had no clue. We didn't know if, she got abducted by aliens. I mean, seriously, we had no idea.
With no other leads, police run a computer search for registered sexual predators. Since Niles, Michigan is just 10 minutes from the Indiana state line, they pull names from the lists of both states.
The police looked at a wide variety of suspects. They looked at known sex offenders in the area. They looked at people who may have been working in the school and run into her. They looked at homeless people.
Police consider a huge list of names and possibilities, but with Becky missing for more than a week, nothing sticks. Until one tantalizing lead emerges.
I got a call one day that someone had discovered some bones in a gravel pit and went out to that call.
Coming up, secrets in Becky's life begin to surface.
We were doing things that I wouldn't want my 15-year-old son doing.
In the small town of Niles, Michigan, 15-year-old Becky Stowe vanished 10 days ago. A massive search turned up nothing. But when an anonymous phone tip leads to the discovery of bones in a gravel pit, the police rush to the scene. Sure enough, police find bones, but no other evidence in the area that might provide clues to explain what happened to Becky.
I had to send them in for forensic evidence to see what kind of bones they were.
The results come back. The bones are determined to be from an animal, not from a teenage girl.
It was difficult. I had just had my own baby. I had just had a daughter, and it was really hard to think about this girl out there and no one knowing where she was and being gone.
Becky's mom clings to the hope that her daughter is still alive. That hope is suddenly reinforced when a tip comes in that Becky has been spotted in, of all places, Myrtle Beach. Her frantic mother and boyfriend Lenny drive the 15 hours to South Carolina.
We went to the police, we went to the homeless shelters, and nothing. showed pictures around, nothing. We would sit on the boardwalks and we would hide in the bushes at the homeless shelter in case if she would go there for food. But no Becky.
Before returning to Michigan, Diana leaves desperate messages for her teenage daughter.
I wrote, "Becky, come home. This is Mom. Please at least call."
But Becky never calls.
We came back disappointed and empty-hearted.
Every day that passed, it was a disappointment. The worst part was the not knowing, not having the answer. That was the worst part.
The disappearance of Becky Stowe confounds everyone. Investigators delve deeper into Becky's personal life.
Becky and I were very rebellious at that age. We were doing things that I wouldn't want my 15-year-old son doing. We did have a party or two where there was alcohol and cigarettes.
Becky's friends eventually reveal one of her most intimate secrets, a secret that could kickstart the investigation. On the day she disappeared, Becky was pregnant.
We walked to the Kmart store and she bought a pregnancy test, and then we went to Burger King, and in the bathroom, she took the pregnancy test and it came up positive. She was happy. She thought it was somebody else to join her family to love.
I don't know.
Becky may have been happy, but she feared her mom's reaction.
Becky and her mom had always been very close, and in fact, her mom had taken her to get birth control pills at one point. And my understanding is that at that point, they had a conversation where Becky said, "Well, Mom, if I ever got pregnant, what would happen?" And her mom said, "Well, I would want you to get an abortion."
Has Becky run away to hide her pregnancy from her mother? Or is she staying out of sight until it's too late for an abortion?
I was really surprised. Something I didn't know. I'm kind of surprised she didn't come to me or her sister.
And if her mother didn't know, what about Becky's boyfriend, Rob Lehman? And is he even the father?
Rob told us that he had only had sex with her one time and that condom was used, that she was on birth control.
But Becky had confided in friends that he was the father. Police take another look at Rob Lehman.
Rob was a good-looking young kid, very intelligent, played football on the varsity football team, worked 2 jobs.
Police discover that at least from Rob's point of view, his relationship with Becky was never serious. But she felt very differently about him.
It was like maybe her first puppy love crush. They didn't go out to dinners or to the movies. It wasn't, "Mom, this is my girlfriend, Becky." It wasn't anything like that.
So when was the last time you saw Becky?
Even though Rob has already provided detailed accounts of where he was on the day of Becky's disappearance, and his alibis are solid, police ask him to take a polygraph.
A lot of times, the value of the polygraph is not whether it says yes or no. It's the pressure that's created by taking the test that oftentimes will get suspects to talk. And we've had a number of people confess either right before or right after the polygraph.
Do you know who killed Becky Stowe?
No.
He was taken up to our polygraph division where the tests are administered at our state police headquarters. And he took the polygraph with an excellent polygraph operator, and he passed it. We were told by the polygraph operator that he was not any part of Becky's disappearance or had any knowledge of it.
With that result and his strong alibi, investigators check Rob off the list of suspects, which leaves investigators with one last chilling possibility among the people closest to Becky. Could she have been the victim of a man she trusted, her mother's boyfriend of 12 years, and the person she called her dad? Coming up, investigators probe Becky's family life and uncover a suspect with a disturbing alibi.
There was just something at that time that was really not right, that felt really wrong that he was trying to hide.
Police in Niles, Michigan are investigating the disappearance of 15-year-old Becky Stowe. 2 months into the search, they've already cleared her friends and classmates, as well as her boyfriend, Robert Lehman, who passed a polygraph. They target someone even closer to Becky, someone with access, a possible motive, and a history of conflict.
I really believed after we cleared the other people around Becky, everyone else had an alibi. We really honed in on Mom's boyfriend.
Diana had been dating Lenny since Becky was 3 years old, and he had moved in with them not long after Becky turned 12.
Mom's boyfriend was very strange. He was odd. He would just come up with some really strange theories on the whole thing, and then kind of like he got very anxious about her missing, and then would calm himself down by saying, I know she's not missing, she's okay, and I can go drink beer.
Where do you think you're going?
Police also find out that he and Becky had a rocky relationship that got worse after she became a teenager.
He was more, this is how it's going to be if you're going to stay in this house, and if you don't like it, well, there's the door.
On the day Becky disappeared, he claimed to be homesick, watching movies on television. But there's no one to back up his story.
We obviously asked what movies. One of them was Helter Skelter, which was done on the Manson murders. As you start to stack up the things that cause you some concern, that's another one that goes on the stack.
No one knew where he was the day she came up missing, or the next day where he could have had time to dispose of a body.
Even more concerning for the police is his behavior as the investigation unfolds.
There was just something at that time that was really not right, that felt really wrong that he was trying to hide.
Becky's mother's boyfriend fit the profile of a suspected abductor of a teenage girl perfectly. He moved in with her when Becky was 12 years old, about the age that a lot of pedophiles would start to take an interest in a preteen girl. That's somebody that police look at pretty closely, especially when you have to worry about, is this guy with her mother only because he wants to sleep with the daughters?
He repeatedly comes to police with bizarre theories of what might have happened to Becky.
They were bothered by the amateur detective work that Diane and her boyfriend were doing. At one point, the two of them were making lists about different stories that didn't add up, and the boyfriend actually called the police and gave them this information and tried to help them direct the investigation.
Lenny even decides he knows where Becky is buried, somewhere not far from the house. He sets out to reveal what he believes is her final resting place.
Mom's boyfriend started digging in the shallow grave that was a fresh grave, and he was digging, and it was, in fact, someone's animal that had just currently had passed away. He said it was their pet cemetery, and the day before Becky would have been missing, they had buried their pet, their dog.
Lenny's behavior is a serious red flag to authorities. It's as if he's trying to steer investigators away from the truth, that he had harmed her.
They told him at the police station, you killed that girl. And he looked at him like, and so did I. They said, we know you killed that girl.
But Lenny insists he's innocent and is willing to do whatever is necessary to prove it.
He kept telling me, if I'm a suspect, give me the polygraph. If I'm the suspect, give me the polygraph. Approximately 7 days into the investigation, he was offered a polygraph. We get a call from an attorney saying that he is not going to be taking a polygraph. He refused to take it.
They missed the test up.
Suddenly, even Diana's faith in her long-term boyfriend is shaken.
I'm innocent, and I'm on the hook.
I asked him, I says, why are you doing this? I said, if you didn't have anything to do with it, why are you afraid of a polygraph? He said, because I have heard of innocent people flunking them.
He not only refuses the polygraph, he packs up and leaves town, moving to Ohio. With no evidence, police are powerless to stop him.
Once their main suspect had left town, they thought that he had gotten away with the perfect crime.
Police continue to track Lenny's general activities for months. On the one-year anniversary of Becky's disappearance, they decide to follow Lenny, hoping that he might inadvertently reveal her whereabouts.
That somehow he'd go back and revisit, where she was at, and by that, allow us to unravel what happened.
He left the factory that night and was working, I believe, an afternoon shift, and then ended up at a bar and stayed at a bar till he went home. And never went anywhere out of the ordinary, never went anywhere that would look like somewhere that maybe he would go back and visit the body.
Police can't find any evidence or link to Becky's disappearance from their one and only suspect.
It was starting to enter cold case status. They had no more fresh leads. They thought they knew who did it, but they didn't know if they'd ever be able to prove it.
1 year after the 15-year-old vanished, with no viable suspects, the investigation is at a standstill.
It was a really desperate situation for Becky's family because at this point...
No signs of Becky. Desperate, her mother contacts a psychic in Florida who has assisted police in missing persons cases before. Noreen Renier agrees to help and asks for something of Becky's to be sent to her.
I always ask for an item that the person wore or used prior to their disappearance. They gave me a sock and some sort of piece of jewelry with charms or something on it.
Using the sock and bracelet as touchstones, Noreen shocks everyone with specific details about what happened to Becky Stowe. Coming up, the search for Becky turns on one little letter.
I didn't know if it was a first name or last name, but it would have to be an L.
It's been more than 2 years since 15-year-old Becky Stowe disappeared in July of 1993. With 0 leads and nowhere else to turn, her desperate mother, Diana, reaches out to a leading psychic detective in Florida, Noreen Renier. Using some of Becky's personal possessions, Noreen gathers her first impressions of the teenager.
Very pretty girl.
You block out everything else in your mind and you see images or you feel, sometimes it's just a feeling you get, and you speak the words. I'm in this altered state of consciousness.
With Diana and a detective on the phone in Michigan, Noreen begins by describing the missing girl.
She liked to change her hair color.
Just did enough so they could say, yes, you're describing Rebecca. I felt she was more of a tomboy or liked athletic sports.
Suddenly, Noreen confirms what everyone has been afraid to say out loud.
I'm so sorry. Your daughter's dead.
She says, I see a beautiful surroundings.
Noreen provides a rough map of where she thinks Becky's body can be found.
I draw a circle, and at the top of it, I put 12. It's like a clock. Then I closed my eyes, and I went 100 feet above the body, and I could see it at 11. There was a small airport. But as I went higher up, further out of our circle, was a bigger airport in that same line of direction.
Noreen also mentions train tracks and a river, landmarks that would place Becky's body somewhere northeast of town.
I felt like there was some mushy water near me. I felt squishy. Was not in water. It was close to water, but it was in the earth.
Since the area around Niles has many lakes and ponds, Noreen's vision doesn't give anyone much to go on. But she also believes Becky was with someone just before she died.
Did she go with this person willingly? And I felt like she went outside to meet the person, but then something happened and I started getting hurt.
As the details of the sketch emerge, the portrait bears an eerie similarity to Rob Lehman, the boy Becky said she was visiting the afternoon she disappeared. And then Noreen says something that shocks everyone.
It was at the very end of the session, and I think they just asked me what was the motive. And as I saw her body dead, I could see the fetus in her body. And I said to them, she was pregnant.
It's the one piece of information the psychic could not possibly have learned from published accounts of the case. Authorities follow up on her unusual leads.
And the police took the map and took the information that she had given them and searched for anything that might resemble that place. That's how desperate they were. But they didn't find anything.
Still, the sketch and the letter L seem to point squarely at Robert Lehman, who has been cleared with a polygraph and a solid alibi. The psychic's revelations line up with what Becky's friends have long believed.
Jacqueline was always convinced from the first moment that that note was true and accurate. After she spoke to Rob, she told me, she said, I know that mother knows where she's at.
Times on his desk. Robert Lehman had nothing to do with this case.
Becky's family and friends are forced to back off from harassing Rob. Instead, they hunt down someone else to try and get answers.
Something that they met up on the side and formed a relationship. No one really knew much about them dating. It was kind of secret.
Did Angela find out about her rival for Rob's affections and somehow learn of Becky's secret pregnancy? The timing of Becky's disappearance seems suspicious, coming just before Angela's return to town. But when confronted by Becky's friends, Angela denies knowing anything.
You're calling me a liar. Why shouldn't I be defensive?
She would deny that Robert was capable of doing anything to Becky.
Jackie can't quiet her nagging doubts about Robert's and Angela's culpability.
I didn't have proof. I felt just in my gut.
After almost 2.5 years of investigation, accusations, and swirling rumors, the mystery of Becky Stowe seems like it will never be solved. But for authorities working the case, that possibility is unacceptable.
We never, ever gave up. And the reason being is because this is somebody's child. And even if we find out the worst, that she's dead, there's at least some closure with knowing where she's at and what happened. And many times in law enforcement, that's all you can give. You can't bring them back, but you can at least provide the family some closure. We were not going to give up until we could do at least that.
Then, suddenly, on October 3rd, 1995, a call comes into police from a witness closely connected to the case, who's now willing to betray an intimate confidence.
It was like, wow, this is the break that we've been looking for.
Coming up, the horrifying truth of what happened to 15-year-old Becky Stowe.
I was just in utter shock.
We're dealing with somebody here that, not just going to roll in and go, well, let me tell you the whole thing about what really happened. That's not how it went down.
Almost 2.5 years after 15-year-old Becky Stowe goes missing, investigators receive a new lead.
A police officer in another jurisdiction called and said this girl had heard what happened to Becky. The police were like, okay, what's the deal? They were gonna check it out like any other tip.
That was not the first phone call we'd gotten like that. We had chased down several of those rumors.
But Niles police sit up and take notice. When the caller identifies herself, it's Angela, who now says she knows exactly what happened to Becky Stowe, because Angela is sleeping with the killer, Robert Lehman. There's one problem. The football hero had passed a polygraph and had an airtight alibi. Why would anybody believe Angela, who might have an axe to grind as a betrayed lover? But this appears to be more than just pillow talk.
Angela said that Rob told her where he had buried Becky's body.
She directs police to a large 500-acre farm that belongs to an uncle of Robert Lehman. But what makes the hair on the back of their necks stand up? Angela says Robert told her he buried Becky under a wood pile and left her there to rot.
It was like looking for a needle in a haystack. We're digging on all different kinds of spots by the wood piles. It'd been over 2 years at this point. It just seemed like an endless task, digging all these spots and looking, and didn't know how far to go down and which spot to hit. At that point, we finally called in heavy equipment to help us dig. It was just going to be an endless task with shovels trying to find that spot. It was getting dark. We had to get it done. Finally, as they pulled up a scoop of dirt, we had a couple of young troopers that were in the hole as he's digging, and they smell something. And that next scoop that came up was shorts with hip bones in them.
Could these shorts be the same ones Becky was wearing on that summer afternoon as she eagerly waited for her new crush? A forensic anthropologist is called to the scene. She begins to carefully piece together the exhumed remains.
She came up and literally with a paintbrush and a potting shovel, she unearthed all of the bones and found a skeleton, an intact female skeleton, removed everything to her lab. We assembled all of the bones and was able to identify it was a teenage female girl.
Dental records and skeletal dimensions confirm these are the bones of 15-year-old Becky Stowe.
I was sitting at home by myself. Here comes a detective that was on the case. I said, "She's dead, isn't she?" And they said, "Yes. She died that day."
I just started crying. And I felt a little bit better because it was over. We no longer were living in wait. The waiting game was over.
Becky has been found, but can police prove Rob Lehman killed her?
Rob's not stupid. He'd already been interviewed 3 times by some very seasoned detectives, and he had managed to fool all of them. And he fooled the polygraph. So we're dealing with somebody here that, not just gonna roll in and go, well, let me tell you the whole thing about what really happened.
Police arrest Rob Lehman for the murder of Becky Stowe. After hours of questioning, Lehman finally admits he was with Becky when she died, but claims her death was an accident.
I don't think he was at all intimidated. I don't think he was afraid. I think he believed that he was smooth enough that he could explain this. And so that's exactly what he attempted to do.
This is Lehman's actual interview from police audio tapes.
He did make the comment that as Rob got out of the hole, he said, "That's big enough to put that bitch in."
Damning evidence of Lehman's intention to murder his pregnant girlfriend.
Whose body were you going to dispose of in the hole?
Becky Stowe.
Okay.
After he killed her, Lehman continued with the rest of his day.
He fills in the hole and throws the shovel in his truck and takes off. He goes home, takes a shower, goes to his mom's work, sees his mom, goes on to work, realizes he still has that shovel and its evidence, and throws it in a dumpster.
Then he called Jackie's house, casually, calmly pretending that he was looking for Becky. He never once deviated from his perfect image, the football star, the hard-working, polite young man, the ultimate boy next door.
He was liked by a lot of people. He was all of those things that you'd sort of like your kid to either grow up to be as a young man or to date if, you had a daughter. There's nothing in his background that would indicate that he was capable of this kind of cruelty.
I was just in utter shock. We had 2 different detectives that had 50-plus years experience together, both talked to him, and none of us felt like Rob was involved. He was just cool, calm, and collected.
Once in a while, you get a suspect who is so unusual, with an alibi that is so airtight, who beats the odds in almost every way, that's something that's beyond their control.
The initial note, I guess, said it all, went to talk to Rob.
But what about the polygraph? How did Lehman fool an experienced expert?
I asked the psychologist to evaluate me. How a 16-year-old beats a polygraph? He said, you know, if I were going to design a criminal, I mean, if I were going to draw up a psychological makeup, this kid is what I would come up with. He said he can look right at you and lie through his teeth.
Even as Lehman went to trial and Becky's family and friends finally learned what had happened to her, there was no relief.
I prayed to God, take this hurt away. It's gotten better, but it'll never go away.
This kid is
A young woman vanishes from a California freeway.
That freeway has 10,000 cars an hour or something that goes by there, and no one saw anything.
The search goes on for years.
No witnesses, no physical evidence. It was very frustrating.
When the mystery is finally solved, it's bizarre beyond belief.
It was the work of a monster.
Then, in Big Sky Country, a Montana businessman is found dead, shot 7 times.
It's one of those things where you look at it and realize that this is a total unknown.
But when they finally get a suspect, no one can believe it.
People thought when they arrested him, surely there was a mistake.
June 3rd, 1991. In Costa Mesa, California, 23-year-old Denise Huber is missing. Her abandoned car is found on a freeway.
The reason it had stopped was that it had a right rear flat tire. We could see skid marks where the flattened tire led up to where the car was at rest.
Police find the hazard lights still blinking, but there's no sign of Denise, and no clues about her fate.
There was no blood, there was no indications that anything was in disarray, that there's any force or violence used.
Investigators believe whatever happened to Denise occurred after she got out of the car.
One would assume that she'd either left the car to try to find assistance or that she had been abducted by somebody.
Denise's car is between call boxes. Was she trying to reach one?
At the time, cell phones were not popular. On the freeways, there were call boxes, emergency call boxes, monitored by the California Highway Patrol 24 hours, 7 days a week, within easy walking distance.
But there's no record of any calls from Denise. Investigators bring in bloodhounds. The dogs quickly pick up Denise's scent. They follow it 75 yards up the freeway, toward one of the call boxes. Then, it abruptly disappears.
The bloodhounds lost the scent, which led us to believe that she probably was picked up in a car and taken from that scene.
It's the best clue police have trying to unravel what happened to Denise. Hundreds of volunteers search the surrounding area.
We find nothing unusual, nothing out of the ordinary.
Police take the search airborne in a helicopter with infrared sensors.
We did a very thorough search to see if we could find anybody or heat traces, and we could not find anything at all.
Denise has simply vanished, apparently abducted. Desperate for leads, a forensics team combs her car.
We search it, we inspect it, we fingerprint every inch of it, and every fingerprint we find is accounted for. It's Denise's or one of her friends or a family member.
Detectives begin to retrace Denise's movements in the hours before she disappears.
Then the next major time frame is here.
The trail starts the day before, 45 miles north, at a rock concert in Los Angeles.
Denise had a good friend, Rob Calvert, and they were able to get a couple of tickets for a concert.
After the concert, they stop for drinks, run into a friend at a bar, then head home.
The last time anyone saw Denise was her friend Rob when she dropped Rob off at his home about 2:30 in the morning.
From Rob's, it's only 12 miles to where Denise lives with her parents, but she never arrives. Denise, recently graduated from college, is always responsible.
She visited with us before she left and told us what she was going to be doing.
She's 23 years old, and she had friends, and we didn't really think too much that she didn't come home.
Denise's parents assume she's staying at a friend's, but when she doesn't return in the morning, they begin to worry.
She always let us know what she was doing, and so we knew there was something wrong.
Her parents call Denise's friends.
What time did she drop you off? 2:30, and she didn't stay?
When no one's heard from her, they call the police. Meanwhile, Tammy Brown, one of Denise's best friends, retraces Denise's route home.
Tammy comes across the car abandoned on the side of the freeway in Costa Mesa.
But there's no sign of Denise anywhere. Her family and friends become frantic. Denise's family pleads for information from the public.
We always felt that there was one person that saw something that night. That freeway has 10,000 cars an hour and it goes by there. And no one saw anything.
The Costa Mesa police put a team of detectives on the case. They start by questioning the last person to see Denise, Rob Calvert.
Tell me about your relationship with Denise.
Denise and I were very close friends, but nothing more than that.
They were just good friends, and they had this mutual interest in music, and they were just there for a good time.
Did you want to be more than friends with Denise?
Rob tells detectives he has a crush on Denise.
If she was single, probably.
Rob indicated to us that if they could have taken the relationship up to a romantic level, he would have been all in favor, but I think Denise had other intentions.
But there's no indication Rob ever tried to change her mind. His story checks out. He even agrees to take a polygraph test.
Did Denise drop you off at 2:30 a.m.?
Yes.
Rob passes and is cleared. By now, tips are pouring in from the public.
And when was that? Okay.
Well, there were a lot of theories that went on. One of them was that she may have eloped.
When questioned, Denise's friend Stephen puts that theory to rest. He'd made plans to go to the concert that night, but had to work. Other employees back up his story.
We had to look at everybody that was close to this. That included everyone that had seen Denise recently.
They interviewed Greg Hare, the friend Denise and Rob met with at the bar.
He was the second person that would have seen Denise before she became missing. And so we started to check out his story, his background, his history.
They find nothing that points to Greg as a suspect.
Did you murder Denise Huber?
No.
He too takes a lie detector test and passes easily. Detectives interview everyone Denise knows. She doesn't seem to have any enemies or rivals.
We talked to family, her friends, her coworkers, people that she went out with, and we never found one person that ever spoke ill of her at all.
The investigation begins to shift away from those closest to Denise.
We draw the circle wider as to who might be living in Costa Mesa or traveling that freeway, who might be a sex offender, a parolee, who has a history of this kind of violence, who has a similar MO. We found none.
To police, it looks like the worst-case scenario, a random attack. They have no motive and no suspects. They round up other perps desperate for any lead.
Got a background of sexual assault, and he is living in that area.
Okay, I want to see him. Can you arrange to bring him in?
All they know is that she's probably been abducted off the freeway. It's not much to go on, and detectives know it. In Costa Mesa, California, the search for missing motorist Denise Huber is stalled. Her car is found next to a freeway, abandoned. The 23-year-old has simply vanished. Police suspect she's been abducted after a blowout disabled her car, but even that's only a guess.
There was just absolutely nothing to go on. No witnesses, no physical evidence. It was very frustrating.
Weeks turn into months, and then a year passes. Police are out of leads. Denise's family keeps her story alive in the media, hoping someone will come forward.
It's been a year of waiting and wondering, of hoping and praying, of disappointment and despair.
The Hubers hoisted a 30-foot banner that was visible from where Denise's car was found. The banner had Denise's picture with the words, "Have you seen Denise?"
Police and family members also distribute thousands of flyers and bumper stickers with Denise's likeness.
We get on numerous television shows, putting her face, her name, an appeal. Have you seen Denise? Please call us.
Denise's parents offer a $10,000 reward, but nothing works.
This search was very intense. It was like one of our own was missing, and everybody took it to heart.
Police chase every lead, no matter how far-fetched. When human remains are found in the desert 150 miles away, detectives follow up. just in case it's Denise. It's not.
Not only did we do physical searches just about every place we could think of, we brought in psychics.
When a psychic claims Denise's body is in a local lake, divers are sent in. They find nothing.
In 31 years of police work, this is the most frustrating case I've ever had to contend with.
Denise's parents even hire private detectives. They come up empty. Con men and crackpots come out of the woodwork.
I had one that said he knew something, and I had to give him money, and which I did, and he had information which was totally worthless.
Right. Okay.
Tips keep coming in, but they're less and less helpful. Theories range from the white slave trade to cults to Denise staging her own death. A second year passes, then a third.
And with every anniversary, the Hubers, Dennis and Ione, would put themselves out in front of the cameras, just begging for any information.
Denise was the light of our lives, and she brought us nothing but joy and happiness. And now that's been taken away.
Police are no closer to solving the mystery than the night Denise vanished. As a last resort, they put a female detective out on the highway posing as a stranded motorist, a trap to lure a potential abductor.
At one point, they put a decoy out in that same stretch of freeway to see whether something would happen to the decoy and if they could find a clue that way.
That doesn't work either, but police keep the case open.
You're constantly on the alert for something that will turn the page, and that challenge is to keep interest alive.
3 years and a month after Denise Huber disappears, detectives finally get a break in the case.
Detective Smith.
But it's something so horrifying, even the most seasoned detectives are shocked.
Oh my God.
370 miles away, near Prescott, Arizona, a couple who run a paint store, Jack and Elaine Court, are about to become a critical part of the case.
On the weekends, we would go up to Prescott Valley and sell paint and paint sundry items. At the Prescott Valley swap meet,
Another man also sells paint there. His name is John Familaro. He's a house painter and former real estate agent.
Every weekend that we were up there, that he was there, we would go by and we became not friends, but we at least had some conversation almost every weekend.
he did tell us that he was a paint contractor in Southern California and decided to move closer to his parents in Prescott Valley.
You know, I got tons of paint at home.
Really?
I can sell it to you really cheap.
On July 19th, 1994, Familaro offers to sell the courts a large amount of paint he's storing at his house.
He said he had a lot of it for 50 cents a quart, which was like a gold mine for us. So he said, follow me to my house and you can buy as much as you would like.
He leads the courts to an upscale neighborhood near a country club.
When we arrived at his house, we parked right next to a Ryder truck, and we went into the back of the backyard.
The courts buy as much paint as they can fit into their van.
After we loaded up, we were backing out of the driveway, and my husband said, that truck's been there for a while.
It's been there long enough that weeds are growing up around the tires.
You don't rent a truck and just keep it at your property. You rent it, you use it, and then you return it.
The courts become suspicious.
Oh my God, that was so weird. Something's going on there.
On a hunch, Elaine scribbles down the license plate number as they leave.
This was not noticeable by John. He was just waving goodbye to us, wanting to make sure we left the property, I assume.
The courts pass on their suspicions to a police officer who was one of their frequent customers.
Relayed the story about the Ryder truck, and he said, you know, I'll check it out and see what it amounts to.
There was just something not right at this house.
When the officer runs the plate, he gets an immediate hit. The truck is stolen. The Yavapai County Sheriff's Department sends a deputy to investigate.
He observed the vehicle backed into the driveway. There was a lot of chemical containers, 5-gallon drums, 1-gallon drums, unknown chemicals, hazardous or not, he wasn't sure.
The truck itself is locked, but the deputy finds an extension cord running into it from the house next door.
His suspicion was that this could be a mobile methamphetamine lab.
Dispatch, this is Deputy Carducci. I'm at the location. We got a possible meth lab.
John Familaro is not home, but investigators don't wait. They alert a narcotics team to check out the truck.
They had to call a locksmith in to unlock it, and it turned out not to be a methamphetamine lab. It was a lot of paint chemicals.
And something strange as well. A large freezer chest. It too is locked. The extension cord is being used to power the freezer.
The residence next door to John Familaro was his mother's residence, and that is where the freezer was plugged into.
The officers assume the freezer holds more chemicals.
The freezer within the vehicle was actually operating with a big lid that opens up, and if you can imagine looking down into the freezer and seeing just a large garbage bag.
But what's in the garbage bag? Detectives are about to find out. Police in a small Arizona town investigate a stolen truck they suspect holds a mobile meth lab. What they find is more shocking than drugs. Inside is a freezer chest containing a large garbage bag. A detective slowly peels away part of the plastic. Inside the garbage bag is the last thing anyone expected.
Myself and one of the other detectives discovered a human body within the freezer, completely frozen.
The body is that of a nude woman. Her wrists are handcuffed behind her back.
I remember some manicured fingernails. A lot goes through your mind when you come up with something like that.
For investigators, the obvious question is, whose body is it? The rental truck is towed to the state crime lab.
I recall it took some time for the body to thaw out. It was preserved well enough that we were able to lift some very good fingerprints.
They were run through the automated fingerprint identification system. In 24 hours, they had a match. 375 miles away, detectives in Costa Mesa get a call with some shocking information.
I get a call one day from Scott Masher.
Detective Smith.
And he asked me, have I ever heard of Denise Huber? I almost fell in a chair when he asked. I said, why are you asking?
The prints reveal the body is that of Denise Huber. The 23-year-old woman California detectives have been searching for more than 3 years.
I knew from what they told me, and they knew that it was Denise.
I don't really know how to explain it, like a shock, and that's what I felt. I had to excuse myself, and I went to the restroom for a few minutes. Chiefs aren't supposed to do that, I guess, but I did anyway.
John Familaro, the man Jack and Elaine Court bought paint from, doesn't seem capable of such a ghoulish crime. He's a most unusual suspect.
Our impression was he was a very private man and a little shy and bashful at the same time.
He just seemed like the guy next door that you talked to, other than the fact that he was a little bit quiet.
Familaro seems to lead an ordinary life. His mother calls him a good son.
The mother was pretty surprised and shocked that that had occurred and just didn't believe that her son was involved in anything like that.
As a house painter, Familaro's in direct contact with the public, but investigators find no record of suspicious behavior. They even track down women he's dated.
They're very intelligent women, and they all said he could be very charming right off their feet. And then at some point in the relationship, they go, you know what, the guy is just getting a little weird for me.
But most of them never find out just how weird he really is. Other girlfriends paint a darker picture.
2 of his ex-girlfriends had been bound up, handcuffed, and sodomized, which promptly ended their relationship with him.
When detectives search Familaro's Arizona home, they find Denise's clothes and personal effects, the trophies of a demented killer.
I also located a stack of newspapers that Familaro was saving in one of his bedrooms that were stories about Denise Huber's disappearance.
At the coroner's office, the full horror of her murder is exposed.
She was bound with handcuffs. She had duct tape over her eyes. She had a gag in her mouth, which in turn was then duct taped.
An autopsy reveals that she's been sexually assaulted and that her murder was an extremely vicious one.
It was blunt force trauma to the head. It actually crushed the skull. It was overkill.
Somewhere in the neighborhood, like 36 separate blows. This was just a frenzy of violence.
At Familaro's home, detectives find several tools, including a hammer with Denise's blood on them.
We were able to, with the help of a forensic anthropologist, match the hammer to some injury sustained to the skull.
Investigators also find evidence that points to the place where the murder actually occurred.
We located the actual credit card receipt for the freezer, where it was purchased, when it was purchased.
From the receipt, we can find out where the freezer was delivered in a large warehouse in the southern part of Orange County. It's designed to be business, but this is his living quarters, and this is where he's running his paint business.
A forensics team scours the warehouse. They find DNA proof that Denise was murdered there.
The drywall is soaked with blood. The wood framing is soaked with blood inside.
The evidence is overwhelming. Familaro never confesses or reveals any details of the crime, but investigators piece together a theory of what happened to Denise Huber. Familaro is cruising the Corona del Mar freeway, a route he normally doesn't travel.
To me, the only logical explanation would be he's out prowling, looking for the prey that he wants.
Denise is on her way home when she's forced to pull over.
Denise's car had a right rear flat tire.
Denise is walking to the nearest call box when she encounters John Familaro.
He might have charmed her, saying, "I'll take you to a phone booth."
Oh, it's just a flat tire.
Yeah, come on in, I'll give you a ride.
Thanks.
Once she's in his car,
Seatbelt down.
he attacks her and knocks her unconscious.
He probably now drives her down to the warehouse. She has her clothes taken off, and she gets handcuffed behind her back.
Familaro rapes her, then beats her to death. He decides to keep her body.
She gets placed into the freezer. He relocates later on. He takes the freezer, puts it in the Ryder truck, just like all the rest of his belongings, takes it to his new place.
The truck and the freezer sit in Familaro's Arizona driveway for 5 months until Jack and Elaine Court come by for paint.
It was such a tragic ending. It was macabre. It was the work of a monster.
In June 1997, John Familaro is convicted of murdering Denise Huber and sentenced to death. Coming up next, when a Montana businessman is murdered, a search for the killer turns up a suspect so unusual, the whole town is devastated.
Total shock. How could this be?
December 26th, 1997. The day after Christmas. At an unoccupied vacation home on the snow-covered outskirts of Big Fork, Montana, the body of a man lies in a pool of his own frozen blood. The dead man is Larry Streeter, a well-known local businessman.
In the ice and the blood that was underneath the body, we were able to recover a spent .38 caliber bullet, which would have come from a .38 or a .357 Magnum.
Detectives from the Flathead County Sheriff's Office discover he has been shot multiple times, 6 times with a .22 caliber pistol, and once more with a .357 Magnum.
That's overkill. That tells you that somebody definitely wanted to make sure that Mr. Streeter was dead.
Streeter was last seen leaving a Christmas party around 11 p.m. When he didn't come home, his wife became alarmed.
She called her son-in-law, and her son-in-law drove in, and he found the tracks and followed the tracks in and found Larry's body in front of the pickup.
Investigators are mystified. Why would anyone want to kill Larry Streeter?
We had no idea who had done it. Normally, when you get to a homicide scene, you know who the suspect is. They may not be at the scene, but you have something that tells you who it is. And this was a straight whodunit.
The vacation home where Streeter's body is found is owned by psychologist John Bradshaw, the author who popularized the idea of the inner child.
This house had originally belonged to Larry Streeter, and he had sold it to John Bradshaw.
Streeter kept an eye on the house when Bradshaw was out of town. Now he's lying dead in the driveway. Detectives find evidence of a burglary. One of the windows has been pried open.
There were items from inside the house laying in the snow outside that window. When you went into the house, the drawers had been pulled out and items inside the drawers turned upside down and thrown on the ground. Ooh. Yeah. There was a lot of disarray inside that house.
Big footprint right here.
Right behind you, yeah.
And we got a little print right here.
You bet, right in front.
As they process the scene, detectives find Streeter's footprints in the snow. But there are other tracks as well.
We had 2 separate sets of shoe prints, different patterns, and one of the pairs of shoes was very small.
We thought probably the second suspect was a female, just by looking at the shoe print.
Investigators also find tire tracks from both the suspect's vehicle and from Streeter's pickup truck.
It was obvious from the tracks that he had confronted someone, because you could see from the position of Mr. Streeter's pickup that he had blocked that vehicle in.
Could the burglary have been staged by someone who knew Streeter would respond, then waited to kill him?
The first place you go is usually family or close friends.
You'll question them, and then you have to verify their alibis.
The alibis of Streeter's family check out.
When was the last time you saw your father?
It's right around 7, a little bit after. It was dark already.
It's painfully clear they're not involved. They're barely coping with the tragedy. Investigators go back to the evidence. Because he was shot so many times, investigators theorize that the killer was someone with a raging personal grudge against Streeter. But who?
Larry Streeter was very well known and liked in the Flathead Valley. He was a businessman. He put a lot of people to work. He was very active in the community, had a big, tight family, and a very popular person.
Larry was just a genuine, good human being. If I would see his car in front of the restaurant, unless I had a critical meeting to be to, I'd stop and have coffee.
Now, Larry Streeter has been murdered, and investigators are baffled by the apparent lack of motive.
It's one of those things where you look at it and realize that this is a total unknown.
With no DNA or fingerprints from the burglars, the most promising clue is the tread pattern from their tires. Detectives are able to pinpoint the brand of tire and the local dealers who sell them. Then, they get a list of everyone in the area who's bought the tires in the past 2 years.
There were hundreds of names on that list. We had detectives assigned to tracking down each of the people that were on this list, and nothing led anywhere.
They also tried to ID the shoes that made the footprints. The FBI crime lab identifies the small prints as coming from a type of deck shoe made in China. On their own, local detectives track down the source of the large prints, shoes made by a popular manufacturer, Nike.
Those were made by a shoe called a Nike ACG 2Mac.
But without suspects, the evidence is useless. Desperate, investigators check out even the most unlikely leads.
There was a particular suspect at the time that Larry had some dealings with that worked for Larry, and they had a falling out.
Streeter had fired the man on December 23rd. 2 days later, Streeter was dead.
How long did you work for him?
A little less than a year.
Detectives wonder if the ex-employee could have shot him in a fit of rage.
I was let go, yeah. 2 days before Christmas.
But when questioned, the man has a solid alibi.
Where were you on December 25th between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m.?
At home. With my family.
We eliminated him as a suspect because there just wasn't enough evidence to even go there.
Once again, detectives hit a dead end. Their best hope is the burglary angle. They search their case files, looking for any connection to the Streeter homicide. Finally, they get a hit.
These tire tracks match that burglary of 10 days ago.
10 days before Streeter was killed, there had been another burglary, one with telltale links to Streeter's murder.
The deputies took photographs of the tire tracks and shoe prints at that scene, and they were made by the same pattern, the tire tracks, same pattern of shoe print.
Investigators review the list of people who bought the killer's brand of tires, looking for anyone with a burglary charge.
I really think there's a tie-in.
When there's no match, detectives continue digging.
Detective Walsh.
The other detectives were contacting these people and basically came to the conclusion that none of those people were involved in the homicide.
Months pass. The killers are still at large, and investigators are working against the clock.
We were very concerned about the tire tracks because these were studded tires, and in Montana, by May 31st, you have to have the studs off. Normally here, people have 2 sets of tires on 2 sets of rims, and they change them between winter and summer. And we were convinced that those tires were going to be off.
It's an exhaustive effort, but there's not a suspect in sight.
We had eliminated about everybody that we could eliminate, and we even had the remotest possibility of doing these things.
Then, out of the blue, detectives get a call from authorities in neighboring Lake County.
Oh, yeah, okay.
They have a possible suspect, someone they've just arrested in a break-in.
They got a suspect in custody.
In this burglary, there were a lot of the same kind of items that were stolen, and he had the right type of tire tracks.
Jacob, right?
That's me.
But the optimism is short-lived.
You happen to know Larry Streeter?
No.
The burglar denies any involvement. Besides having the same type of tires as the killer, detectives don't have any evidence to link him to the crime. He's eliminated as a suspect. To help break the impasse, author John Bradshaw puts up a $10,000 reward.
Nothing of value came from any of these contacts.
Detectives also take the search to local pawn shops, hoping to find something from the Bradshaw's home. Anything that will point to the killers.
We have probably 24 pawn shops. We would go every day to every pawn shop.
But nothing turns up. 5 months after the murder of Larry Streeter, the case is at a standstill.
The leads dry up, people stop calling in. You run up against a wall, just try and find a way around that wall.
In this case, the way around the wall finds Walsh.
This is Detective Walsh.
It begins with a phone call.
I got a call from an attorney I know, and he said he had a client who had information about the Streeter homicide.
The client's daughter has heard about a young man who made a stunning confession while attending a Bible camp.
I thought possibly this type of information would help with your case. I know you.
He had witnessed the homicide, and he was very concerned because he was a religious person.
Great. Thanks, Pat. And I'll talk to you soon.
Will this clue be the one investigators have been hoping for? Or just one more in a string of devastating setbacks? The shooting death of popular local businessman Larry Streeter stuns the town of Big Fork, Montana. After 5 months of investigation, detectives finally get a break. At a Bible camp, a young man says he saw the crime.
Does this kid have a name? Jesse Ernst?
18-year-old Jesse Ernst. Jesse is known as a quiet young man who generally keeps to himself, but he says he's witnessed a murder. His father is the pastor at a local Baptist church, and his brother, Ted, in a wheelchair since he fell from a tree at the age of 11, is something of a local celebrity.
Ted Ernst was a nationally ranked wheelchair racer, and he was expected to possibly be on the U.S. Paralympic team.
It was common knowledge that he trained hard, worked hard, and had a lot of respect because of the effort.
Jesse has always idolized Ted, and most people see him as his brother's sidekick. But now Jesse is in the spotlight. He's said he's a witness to the most infamous crime ever to hit Big Fork.
Detective Walsh?
Mr. Ernst?
When Detective Walsh goes to the Ernst house to talk to Jesse, he happens to notice a jumble of shoes by the front door. One pair grabs his attention.
There was a pair of Nike Tumacs sitting right inside the door. Those were the shoe tracks that were left in the victim's blood.
For Walsh, seeing that pair of Nikes is a turning point.
And I thought, I think this guy is more than a witness.
I'll need to take Jesse downtown.
Walsh takes the boy back to the sheriff's office for questioning.
Tell me exactly what you know.
I don't know anything about it. All that I know about.
Ernst denies having ever said he witnessed the murder. He completely clams up.
He was not a communicator. So, you get mixed signals from people like that don't communicate well with you, don't have facial expressions that most people have, so you never knew where he was.
Now, you gotta tell me the truth.
I don't know. I don't remember.
It's not gonna go away.
All that I know about that thing is what we read out of the paper.
He denied making those comments and just kind of looked down, but we knew that he had to know.
After an hour and a half with Walsh, investigators switch gears and another detective takes over the questioning.
Hi, how you doing?
Okay.
When he realized he was going to have to start all over again, he was probably getting really tired at that point, and he just made the admission.
It's an admission that could rip the case wide open. Jesse admits he was at the break-in at the Bradshaw house.
I was looking for something worthwhile to take.
Finally, the floodgates open. Jesse knows more than anyone could have imagined and reveals that the killer is someone no one suspects.
It's my bro.
Your brother? Your brother did the shooting.
The murderer they've been hunting for 5 months is one of the most unusual suspects anyone could imagine. Larry Streeter's killer is none other than Jesse's wheelchair-bound celebrity big brother, Ted Ernst.
Everybody knew him. Everybody was proud to know where he worked. I mean, he worked for a local newspaper down doing graphics and all that type of thing. So, total shock. Like, how could this be?
And they're in for another shock. Ted Ernst coldly admits he did in fact murder Larry Streeter. The news is a stunning jolt to the people of Big Fork.
When Ted Ernst confessed to this crime, people thought when they arrested him, surely there was a mistake. He was supported by this community, both financially and otherwise.
When I found out Ted was a suspect, I went, no way. Because I was with him 3 days after the incident, and I seen nothing. Absolutely nothing.
No one in town had ever seen the dark side of Ted Ernst.
Ted had free access to the sheriff's office, for instance. He knew probably half of the guys or more.
But when detectives search his condo, it's on full display. Detectives find a book with a hollow section cut into its pages. Inside, Larry Streeter's license and a package of casings from the crime scene.
622 spent casings and a spent .357 casing, and that was clearly a trophy.
Ted Ernst's attitude toward the crime amazes detectives. When he fills in all the horrific details, he seems to take a perverse pride in his story.
It's like he wanted to make sure I understood every detail.
The Ernst brothers' path to murder had begun 4 months earlier, almost as a joke.
They started out just doing minor criminal mischief. They would move for sale signs from one yard to another, and they thought that was funny.
But the need for a bigger adrenaline rush takes over.
And Ted wanted to do more, so it wound up going to the point of committing burglaries.
Ted would pick a target and plan the attack. Jesse would do the break-in. The brothers stayed in contact using two-way radio headsets. They were a perfect team.
Ted was able to commit burglaries without the use of legs. His brother became his legs. Jesse was able to feel kind of clever, maybe for the first time in his life.
Everything was going smoothly until Christmas night, 1997. The Ernst brothers drive up to the Bradshaw house. Investigators know exactly how it went wrong.
They went in and they never occurred to them that somebody would follow those tracks in.
Larry Streeter is on his way home when he sees the tire tracks.
And Larry Streeter went driving by, saw the tracks going in the driveway, and being a good neighbor, decided he would go in and investigate.
Ted sees Streeter's headlights as he approaches his car.
Jesse, hurry up, someone's here.
He radios his brother Jesse, who leaps from the house and hides behind some trees about 75 feet away. Streeter approaches Ted's car and demands his ID. Ted complies.
You got some ID, buddy?
Yeah, of course I do. Yeah.
When Streeter looks down, he makes a fatal mistake.
He let his guard down for just a moment, thinking that he had control of the situation and not realizing the position he was in.
Ted lifts a .22 caliber handgun hidden by his side. He fires 6 shots. All of them hit Streeter.
When Ted shoots him and he falls, everything went flying in the air and the cards all came out of the wallet.
Streeter lies bleeding in the snow, but he still isn't dead.
Ted reaches down and takes another pistol. He had a Dan Wesson revolver, .357 Magnum, with, I believe, a 7.5-inch barrel, and he just leans out and fires the final shot.
When Jesse gets in the car, the Ernst brothers speed away.
What are you doing?
But on the way home, Ted remembers that the contents of his wallet are still scattered at the scene.
So he sent Jesse back, and Jesse turned the body over, moved him around, looking for Ted's identification.
What are you doing? We have to go back again. Why?
When Jesse returns, Ted sends him back yet again to retrieve the shell casings. Jesse's Nike 2 Max are soaked, so he changes into a pair of Ted's shoes, the deck shoes made in China, which are extremely small.
So Jesse put these very small shoes on and went back in, and that accounted for the smaller tracks.
Investigators discovered that the Ernst brothers had pulled off a number of burglaries, but they never sold any of the loot. They simply tossed it into a rented storage space. There it stayed. Trophies from a selfish prank that would kill one man, destroy 2 families, and change dozens of lives forever. Jesse and Ted Ernst both plead guilty to felony murder charges. No trial is necessary.
Finding the wall still standing. There was no plan for atonement, just a series of phone calls that needed to happen. I started with Nikos. He answered on the second ring. No anger, no warmth, just recognition. Theo. I'm sorry, I said. Silence stretched. Then he sighed. You don't owe me that. I think I do. Then say it again. For yourself this time. I'm sorry. It felt like the first real line I'd spoken in years. He told me he was working with a new group, refugees using theater to learn Greek. No therapy this time, he said. Just language. I smiled. That's healing too. He laughed. Yes, but quietly. Before hanging up, he said, You can visit if you want. No cameras, just people. I didn't promise, but I knew I would. Sophia lived in a small apartment above a bakery that smelled like cinnamon and old music. I brought flowers, the cheap kind that wilt fast, so they wouldn't have to last longer than forgiveness. She opened the door, surprised but not hostile. You look... She paused. searching for the word. Less haunted. It's an act, I said, smiling. She smiled back. At least it's a gentle one. We sat by her window. Outside, the city hummed, vendors shouting, scooters slicing through air. Normal life, beautifully untheatrical. I told her everything. The dreams, the chair, the night I almost hit the boy on stage. She listened without interrupting, her hands around a mug of tea she never drank. When I finished, she said quietly, "You scared us because you stopped acting. You forgot that art has a door, one you have to walk out of when the curtain falls." I nodded. I lost the handle. She placed her hand over mine. Then maybe now you found it. We didn't talk about the play again. Before I left, she gave me an envelope. Inside was a photograph, the original cast standing on stage, arms around each other. I looked tired, but alive. "Keep it," she said, "so you remember what we tried to do before it became too real." My mother was stronger now. Her laughter was softer, but still there. The sound of survival measured in teaspoons. I found her sitting on the balcony shelling peas, the sea a distant shimmer behind her. She looked up, smiled the way she used to before the storms. "You've lost weight," she said. "I've lost noise," I replied. She laughed. "Good. It suits you." We didn't talk about the play at first. We talked about groceries, about neighbors, about the weather, the ordinary scaffolding of love that had been missing for years. Finally, she said, "You know, your father loved theater too." I frowned. He never said. "He didn't say many things right," she said. "But once, he told me he wanted to see you on stage. He just didn't know how to love what he feared in himself." The wind shifted. Somewhere a dog barked. The moment stretched like the pause between scenes. "Do you forgive him?" I asked. She looked at the sea. "I forgive the boy he used to be. The man, I let go." Then she turned to me. "You don't need to act forgiveness, Theo. You just need to live without rehearsing it." We sat there in silence, the kind that doesn't accuse, only allows. Later that night, I opened the envelope Sophia had given me again. The photo was curling at the edges. I pinned it to the wall. Underneath it, I wrote in small letters, "Don't perform pain. Remember it." It became my prayer. I began teaching small workshops for teenagers, not therapy, just storytelling. I told them, acting is not becoming someone else. It's remembering yourself through different words. They listened, serious, curious, unbroken. When one of them asked if art could really heal, I said, "Only if you stop showing off your scars long enough to let them close." In our mythology, every tragedy ends not with triumph, but with recognition, anagnorisis. The hero sees himself clearly at last. No more disguises, no more gods to blame. For months, I thought tragedy was the scream, the fall, the applause. Now I understand. The real catharsis is silence. It's sitting with your mother on a balcony while the sea forgives both of you. It's returning the ghost light to its socket, not to haunt, but to keep watch. The ancients never promised redemption, only understanding. And that's enough. One evening, after a workshop, I returned to the theater for the first time since that night. The janitor recognized me, nodded without words, and let me in. The place was smaller than I remembered. The chair was gone, the stage bare, the air still. I walked to the center, stood where the spotlight used to burn. And I spoke softly, not a line, not a performance, just truth. Father, I forgive you. Mother, I see you. Theo, I release you. No applause, no music, just a long exhale that felt like survival. When I stepped outside, the evening smelled of bread, petrol, and jasmine. Children laughed somewhere down the street. Untrained, unrehearsed laughter. The city didn't know my name anymore, and that was a mercy. I walked home slowly,